Here we go. We're going to take a look at the S&P 100 today. That's the top 100 companies, and it's always good for us to understand where we're at. These are broad-based nibbling, buying, whatever you want to call it, from the selling that we've had. And you can see across the board that these are large cap companies of the top 100, and we have a little bit of buying coming in across the line there. When we move over to the S&P 500 stocks in this index, which has been beaten down, still below 1300, but you can see where the S&P 500 broad base, I call it weak buying, but it's still green, and it's broad base. It's not like a selected few stocks out of 500. You got pretty good green across the board there. Mid cap 400, which is an important one. Naturally, if we do go into any further weakness, this mid-cap 400 and small cap will lead us down. However, within the correction phase, when you get to certain levels, you will see broad-based buying. It's always a sign that the market's trying to get a footing. And this is the mid-cap 400, and it's broad-based buying. The S&P small cap 600, these are the small caps MLX now, and we got broad-based buying. Today we do. And when you are going to try to put in a short-term bottom from a bull top correction, is you have to see days across the board, not just in one sector, but that there is some broad-based buying. That is also part of price volatility that we have talked about. Now, when we get into the auto parts, global auto parts suppliers around the world, well, it's a mixed bag here. So the global auto manufacturers, as we all know who makes the cars, we'll wait for this to populate, which it has. A little bit of buying in there. Most important, biotechnology on the day, all buying in the biotechnology, in the BTX. Broad-based buying. This is what happens at short-term market bottoms. From the original 6 weeks, 5.5 weeks of selling that we've had, you're going to get days like that. You also had the same days, though. Here's a Morgan Stanley biotech. Human genome is in here. It bounced up $1 today. NASDAQ biotech, the broader biotech itself in the NASDAQ is moving up. We got a good slew of green here. And this is what you see. What about the drugs? Drug index is up as well. It's got some positive buying. Pharmaceuticals. This always happens at certain key areas after a lot of selling. You got lots of, you got Merck, Johnson & Johnson, GlaxoSmithKline. You got buying across the board. Now, that gold and silver that was being pounded yesterday is a little bit of buying today in it. Yesterday, these things were getting killed. On the Morgan Stanley commodity-related area, let's take a look there. And you can see here, range today is the ranges. Hess is one that we trade. I would never come off of HES. That FCX is another one. So in this patch here, we're seeing a little bit of buying in some names. But that Hess is a good one. Okay. Natural gas across the board. EOG being our #1 pick. Not quite performing, but had a $2.02 top-down range. A little bit of buying going across the board in that natural gas. Now, in that oil sector here, once again, Sun, you got Valero, ExxonMobil, you got some buying across there. The energy, Deutsche Bank Energy, you've got some buying going on here. And notice that the buying, even though that some of these names go in various different, you got that OXY that we like, Oxy. That's one that new MMT should be writing down. Morgan Stanley Oil Services, little buying going across here. So oil services, just oil services. These are the names in the oil services, and you have some buying going on here as well across the board. Well, the beaten down KBW Bank Index. See, these are days where the futures are going up, and at certain market bottom supports within corrections, you get buying there. The broader NASDAQ Banking Index, let's take a look at it. It's got buying across the board as well. So we're starting to see where the bull is trying to get nimble, and part of it is this is what money just can't sit around on the sideline. S&P Banking one, the most vital, the BIX.X got some buying in here. Okay, security broker and dealers such as beaten down stocks like Jefferies, you got Morgan Stanley, they've all been getting whacked. They're actually in some of these individual names, Goldman, all of these security broker dealers on Wall Street, they haven't performed that well this year. And let's go into the agriculture area, to the fertilizers. Fertilizers, we got some mixed bag. You got your potash and mosaic in here now. Those are the two we like. Now, in the restaurants, okay, restaurants have got some broad-based buying again after being sold off from their overbought levels. You can see here clearly what that is doing there. We can also see that in healthcare, in the Morgan Stanley Healthcare Index today, you got buying. Leisure activity. In the casino area, you do have some buying in here. Wynn came down and made a bottom, then it popped up. It has a $5.88 range today, right along with Penn. But Wynn is always one that we trade on a daily basis. It's good directional movement. The housing sector, oh boy, well, I didn't think to see much in there, but let's get to the retail sector. That's Morgan Stanley Retail. Morgan Stanley Retail sector, names that were overbought in the retail sector are catching a little bit of a bid today. So that's basically in the Morgan Stanley consumers, once again, and today is 6-7. It's nice to know. There's that buying. There's that buying there, okay? In the cyclical area, we have buying as well. So it's broad base. It's broad base. Let's get down to the CBOE technology area. These are our tech stocks in the CBOE technology. Got a little buying there. Okay. Those are the ones that, okay, here is the CSFB technology, broader base, but once again, we can see the names that are in here, semis and technologies. Qualcomm we like, it doesn't move big, but it's a good little trader. Low volatility, there's some good leaders in here that we like. Computer technology, as we understand it, Apple's not leading the way, but Google on the other hand is kind of flat, up a little bit on the day. Little broad-based buying in here. It's not a complete red tape. In the disk drives, though, things like NTAP, SanDisk, some of these names that are in here, little bit of buying right there. Dow Jones Internet Conference, internet stocks, got a bid to them today. Slight bid. The ranges: Google 559, Netflix 666, Priceline $8.40 range, Amazon a $5.11 range. Plenty of good volatility from shorting the top down and going long off the bottom. Good mix of trades in these. The GSTI composite, which is quite a bigger one, it's still got green across the board, and that's called the GSTI composite. And you can see that NVIDIA is in here, lots of stocks in this one, and they're across the board catching a bid. Hardware is a good one, GST hardware. You know, Apple happens to be in a hardware, kind of a mixed bag, we know that. The GSTI Internet Index, that's their this is the Goldman Sachs one, and they're all green. So, multimedia network. What are the multimedia network people? They're catching a bid. What about the GSTI services? These are stocks that, you know, are classified in that group. And a little bit of buying. The NAs are companies that have been no longer here, but the ones that are here still have broad-based buying. Software, oh boy. Let's take a look at that. It's kind of a mixed bag in that software. It's not as broad-based buying, but there are some. Here's the internet, the bigger internet index called Interactive Week Internet Index. All of these here got good buying across there. Not huge buying, but nonetheless, they're not going down. And the Morgan Stanley Internet Index, once again, some of the same names that kind of rotate around. They're up. Morgan Stanley Technology itself is up. Got Broadcom in there. You got Google in there. You got Salesforce in here. $2.83 range. Here are some of the ranges. Again, Juniper Networks, $1.39 range. The networking area is also got some broad-based buying. Fiber optics, PSE technology. The PSE technology, once again, it's another form of technology, and a bag across the board with listed and NASDAQ combined. And so let's get down to the transports, the airlines. Well, airlines are catching a bid because we've got, you know, OPEC meeting tomorrow, and some of the things with OPEC is going on here today and tomorrow. And there's the Dow Jones Transportation, you're catching a bid. And NASDAQ transportation, same thing. And those transportation and within the broader NASDAQ, you're catching a bid. So we know where the bids are in NASDAQ telecom. The telecom area is catching a bid. It's good to understand that that's the NASDAQ telecom, and all of the stocks that are involved in the telecom, and they're catching a bid. So North America, well, it's kind of a mixed bag. You got Verizon in here. You got some of the stocks that are also in some of the, but they're catching a little bit of a bid. So that's the walk around Wall Street, is to know that during this time frame is that most of the broader indexes and indices are catching what we call a short-term bid at levels from exuberant market tops. Is that we've had 5.5 weeks of selling, and we called those tops. And you got to work an overbought market. You got to go through price volatility. Price volatility will pick up. It's here to stay. However, without that price volatility, whether it's buying off the bottom or selling short off the top, you can't make a living. But with these kind of volatility, it makes the market a very friendly place.